Moving on to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam class. I will let all the devotees on the call to please go ahead with your introductions now.
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Preeti Dasi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Guru and Gauranga, Dr. Katpagwali from Kanyakumari district, Tamil Nadu, India.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnava. Srila Prabhupada celebrate ki jai, Vrinda. So happy you are making big cake for Shri Radha Kalachand.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji, and thank you for your blessings.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indulekha Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas Police Station.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shama Gauri Devi Dasi from Chennai.
Hare Krishna, Shama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Lakshmi Mataji, all glories to the Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisance to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Dasi from Raleigh.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha conference call. We are extremely fortunate to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj here with us today. And Maharaj would be enlightening us by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 18 and verse 27 to 30. But before we dive into this nectarine class, I would request Raj Prabhuji to share a brief introduction about our today's speaker, His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Raj Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru and Gauranga. Here is a brief introduction for our very dear Maharaj today, His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj is a disciple of ISKCON founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and an initiating spiritual master with the ISKCON movement. Maharaj came in contact with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness in Denver, Colorado at the age of 24. In 1973, he began practicing Krishna consciousness in New York City and shortly thereafter began serving in the New Vrindavan farm community in West Virginia. That same year, he received initiation from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In 1986, His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj accepted the sannyas order and began preaching in Cincinnati and Columbus, Ohio. In 1995, he began serving as the resident sannyasi in Chicago, where he was based until 2013, when he relocated to Karlovac, Croatia. At present, His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj offers spiritual guidance around Europe, USA, and India, and online. Hari Bol. Over to you, Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Raj Prabhuji, for an introduction.
I don't see Maharaj on the call, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram,
Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Ram,
Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Shri
Hare,
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi
Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai, Bhakti Dev Tulsi Maharani ki jai,
Hare
Jagat
Ram,
Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Ramne Maharani ki
Krishna
jai.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Ram,
Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare.
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Ram Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Chandramauli, Swami Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for giving us your time, valuable time and association this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Without further ado, I would like to request you to please take over from here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. My obeisances, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 6:18, 27, and 28. Iti bhavena sabarchu achachara sakrit priyam dususayanuragena asrayena dhamena cha bhaktya paramaya rajam anojayar valgubasitai mano jagraha bhavagya samita panga viksamai. Thinking in this way, the desire for a son to kill Indra, Diti began constantly acting to satisfy Kashyapa by her pleasing behavior. O king, Diti always carried out Kashyapa's orders very faithfully as he desired, with service, love, humility, and control, with words spoken very sweetly to satisfy her husband, and with smiles and glances at him. Diti attracted his mind and brought it under her control. Purport: when a woman wants to endear herself to her husband and make him very faithful, she must try to please him in all respects. When a husband is pleased with his wife, the wife can receive all necessities, ornaments, and full satisfaction for her senses. Herein, this is indicated by the behavior of Diti. Taksun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kristaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pachari Namo Sosa Sundya Vadi. Vaswat Yoga Isitamine Gamsakana Pati Yukishya. Sindhita Vichati Pitanam Pavana Udro Vaishnavi Young and Jai Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So why is Diti angry at Indra? Because he arranged for the killing of her two sons, which were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Two sisters, Diti and Aditi. Aditi is the mother of the demigods, and Diti is the mother of the Asuras. The Asuras are a class of people also who live on certain planets and also take birth in different places according to the karmic situation in that place. And when the karma goes down to the lower modes of passion and ignorance, then children born are born with really horrific characters, sometimes very demoniac also. So Diti, although they were demons, still they were her sons. And she's angry that Indra arranged for the Lord to kill her two sons. And now she wants to take revenge. So here now we see how she's plotting her program. And this is a very interesting. In the next chapter also, you'll also see how things develop. But here we see that Prabhupada focuses on the verse itself, that if a woman, especially in this case a wife, wants something, she uses her feminine charm to please her husband, her boyfriend, like that, in order to fulfill her desires. It's a little devious, obviously, because it's motivated by personal desire, but it works. as Prabhupada says here, that if a woman wants to endear herself to her husband, create faithfulness in him, she must please him in all respects. So devotees also should think in that same way, that a devotee wife, she should also try to please her husband in all respects, not for her own personal gain, but to satisfy her husband. And at the same time, then the husband, of course, it's natural, is inclined to fulfill her desires. And within the devotional circles, not like it's mentioned here, but in the devotional circles, then the woman will get much benefit in her spiritual practice. Because it says that the wife gets 50% of the spiritual credits of her husband automatically, just because she is a wife, along with her own credits. So she's in a good position to make spiritual advancement. But nowadays we find people think that this is old-fashioned, and generally we see that in society, women, even in devotional society, women don't follow these principles, and therefore there's a lot of independence in terms of relationships, and sometimes things break apart because of that. But here, this is the way to. So I don't really have I'm not the expertise on this particular subject matter, because I am not in that female body, but the women, they know that this is the way to achieve. So everyone in devotional service should want to achieve spiritual progress, spiritual merits, and get facilities that bring about a chance to make progress in devotional service. So it's the duty of the husband to guide the wife in spiritual life. But sometimes we see that the wife is even more spiritually inclined than the husband. This happens a lot. You see in religious events nowadays, when there is a big religious event, the majority of the participants are ladies. Men are always in the smaller numbers. Ladies are more inclined to spirituality, to devotion, than men are, particularly in this age. That's the emphasis, not so much in previous ages, but particularly in this age, because men are very much inclined to material progress, and therefore they're always busy trying to improve these areas of life. Well, sometimes the women, they have much time. There was one event in Bombay many years ago, when one of our leading sannyasis held the Pandal program, and it was during a cricket match. Everyone knows that sometimes we use a little euphemism, and we say, what is the main religion in India? And the answer is cricket. You'll see when the cricket matches and India is in the finals for the championship, the streets are empty. People are in the stadiums, they're on the television sets watching the cricket match. So there was one cricket match, and we had a Pandal program right at the same time. And the devotee who conducted it mentioned later that there were thousands of people there, but very few men, mostly all women. In fact, not only the majority, but the large majority. So the men were all at the cricket games, were watching the television sets. So this is Kali Yuga, and it's very laudable and very much wanted to see that the women are more inclined to spirituality. Just like even on our daily Zoom calls, we find there's always more women on the calls than men. Women make up the large majority of the classes everywhere throughout our ISKCON society. Not always, but in a lot of places. So that is obviously good in the sense that the women class are very much devoted. A woman's heart is more inclined to devotion than a man is, in the sense that if she is given the right opportunity to become a great devotee of the Lord. And of course, it's up to her husband or her guardian or someone that is responsible to make sure that the ladies get everything they need to make progress in spiritual life, because they're very much inclined to that. Where I am, when I preach, I find I have some disciples. The ladies are there, but the husbands are not there. And sometimes even the husbands are inimical and try to stop their wives from participating in spiritual activities. So this is the climate of Kali Yuga. But here, we're getting a little bit back to the quality of women's nature, women's charm, the charm of a woman, and she has all of the ingredients by which she can control a husband. It says that in material life, sometimes we make, it's not a joke, but it's actually given in a very humorous way, although it has an element of truth. It says that a man chases after a woman until she catches him. A man chases after a woman until she catches him. So this is how it goes, because women know how to attract the attention of men in such a way that she is the active participant in the relationship, but he apparently is the one that's pursuing it. So women are very powerful. It says that the power of a woman, just like Gandhari, we have the history of great women in our Vedic culture. Gandhari was so powerful that her husband, Dhritarashtra, was blind from birth. In order not to become superior to her husband on the physical level, she voluntarily wrapped cloth over her eyes so she would not be in a better position than her husband. And still, she carried out her services too. She was a perfect mother. She had, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had 100 sons. She was a perfect wife, perfect devotee. She's glorified. And we have many. Gandhari was so powerful that when she wanted her son, Duryodhana, to be invincible in battle, she told him, "You come before me tomorrow without any clothes. You come naked, and I shall glance at you, and your whole body will become like steel." So the other, he was doing that. So he was walking with no clothes. Krishna came up to him and said, "Hey, where are you going?" He's going, I'm going to see my mother." "No clothes? Here, you should wear a loincloth." So he took the vice of Krishna and put the loincloth on. And then when Gandhari unfolded her eyes, she saw that he was wearing a loincloth covering his hips. And therefore, his whole body became like steel, except for the lower part of his body, the hips. And then when he was fighting against Bhima, Krishna gave Bhima the clue how to kill Duryodhana by hitting him in the hips and breaking his hips. And Gandhari, she realized that her plan had been frustrated by Krishna. But that she was that powerful. Simply by looking at the body of her son, it became like steel. And he was invincible in battle, practically. Except that Krishna foiled that plan in order for the Pandavas to win the war. And we have many great ladies in the history of Sita Devi. She was so chaste and faithful despite being captured by that Rakshasa. Ravana. Ravana was quite charming. He was also very handsome. And he had many wives. But she didn't succumb. And he threatened her in so many ways, but she remained faithful. She would rather give up her life than give up her chastity to her husband. And then there is Mandodari. Mandodari was the chief principal wife of Ravana. She's glorified in the Shastras as being one of the most chaste women in the history of Vedic culture. But the most chaste in all chaste women is Anasuya. We don't hear much about Anasuya. She's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. But she also, there's a whole section that is considered an extension of the Ramayana, where Anasuya is giving instructions to Sita, the wife of Ram, how to become the perfect wife, perfect wife. So Anasuya is considered to be superior to all of the ladies as being the most chaste of all chaste. You can read about her pastimes in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So women are very powerful, extremely powerful. And when a man is married to a very chaste wife, he becomes extremely expert in everything he does. It says that the woman is the better half of the man. And that is not just some statement of glorification, it's actually true. In married life, that when a woman is chaste and very faithful and serves her husband very nicely, satisfies him in all respects, he becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness, and he becomes very spiritually and materially very powerful. So the women make the difference actually within the world. And we see the opposite when women are, taken out of the home and sent into the workplace, exploited by their colleagues who are men in different ways, and are used as sex symbols for advertising and in so many different ways. The whole society goes to hell. So when Arjuna was talking to Krishna, and he said that, I can't fight. One of the reasons why he said, I'm not going to fight is because if all the men are killed, then the women will have no protectors. And if the women remain loose without protectors, then the society will have varna sankara, unwanted population. And when unwanted population comes within the society, the whole society goes to hell. And Krishna acknowledged what he said, of course, but Krishna still wanted him to fight. And but what Arjuna said was 100% in line with spiritual principles or material or moral qualities. So when women are very chaste and follow the principles of chastity, I know one lady who was a devotee of one of our devotees in another country. I won't mention any names. She doesn't talk to any other men. She's married to her husband, and she keeps very chaste. If she has to talk to other men, it's only out of some emergency or some situation. And I noticed that her husband is very powerful spiritually. And so when we see that, we can see that how this man-woman relationship works in such a way as when it's followed, when the women follow the Vedic culture, when the men also, they also have to follow, then one becomes very powerfully spiritually and can perform many, many wonderful services. So it is a feature of the fair sex that she can control her husband in the right way in order for her to make advancement in the spiritual life, and for him to also become more and more inclined to serve his wife in a way that she will also benefit spiritually and materially. And of course, it says that a woman requires three things, a man, and that is she requires, when she's looking for a husband, she's looking for one who can give her affection, protection, and material security. So affection obviously is there, protection against dangers, and of course material security, that the man can provide everything that is needed for livelihood within the family. And a husband is usually the husbands are looking for something else. They're not looking for those three things. I won't go into that right now. But when a woman is very chaste, then the husband's duty, of course, is to provide everything that she needs. And Prabhupada mentions here, all necessities, ornaments, full satisfaction of the senses. So Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavatam that the man should regularly give gifts to his wife, provide her with ornaments, nice clothing, nice food. I had a particular incident where I was in Mayapur with one of my disciples who was married, and his wife wasn't my disciple, but he was. So he had a dream one night, and the dream was that I appeared in the dream and I handed him a sari in the dream. And then he couldn't figure out that dream. And he came to me the next morning. He said, Maharaj, you came into my dream and you gave me this sari. And I was thinking, why is my Guru Maharaj giving me a sari? So later I understood that the sari wasn't for him, it was for his wife. I gave it to him in the dream to give to his wife, because he needed to do that. He needed to give some gift to his wife, particularly a sari. So this was a nice little reminder for both of us. And of course, later on, right after that, he bought her a sari. It was a green sari in the dream anyway. I don't know what color he bought, but that's something else. So yeah, if you want to keep the marriage together, there is not just doing your duty, but understanding what is the needs and desires, both spiritually and material, for each of the partners. And if the husband is trying to fulfill the desires of the wife in the proper way, not extraordinary or outside of devotional service, and the wife is doing the same towards the husband, then Prabhupada says, then there is no need for taking sannyas. He says that Grihastha ashram is as good as the renounced order. So of course, most of us who are in Krishna consciousness are usually in family life. So Bhagavatam gives us a lot of clear and important instructions how to maintain the family, how to develop the family, and how to make the relationships, because we are always challenged by the Western materialistic society that simply tries to use the individual in order to propagate economic development. In other words, to sell more and more products and to get people more and more involved in working for material gain. But we should be aware of that and try to avoid that as much as possible and keep the principles of Vedic culture alive, both within the family and within the ashram, of course, also. So these are some things we can think about. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat pranam to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you Maharaj. Very, very short but very amazing class Maharaj. I loved it. I loved the points you said, and all the points are true Maharaj. Love your humor Maharaj when you say you can't speak on marriage. But since we chant Maharaj, we know, especially I think as a Grasta, we would like to be a sannyasi Maharaj. Maharaj, you said wife gets 50% of spiritual credit, and I was laughing. Wives get 100% of material credit. So we are always in a losing position here, Maharaj. I don't know what to add, Maharaj. That was a beautiful class, and I was loving the purport that Srila Prabhupada has, given so simple words that we all can understand these purports. And Maharaj, you gave a very beautiful class. I was thinking about the ornaments. I thought today all the Matajis should be very happy. Ornaments are right there in the purport. So everybody loves the ornaments. And Maharaj, so true about the cricket. Even when I was very young back in India, Maharaj, cricket is a religion over there, Maharaj. You are very, very true, Maharaj. But since thanks to Srila Prabhupada, we start chanting and we realize what life is about. What we will take away from here is not some cricket or some mundane material thing, but the chanting that we will take away for sure. Krishna says, Neha Vikrama Nashosti. We will certainly take our spiritual credits with us.
Yeah,
And Maharaj, sorry, Maharaj.
We're trying to make the cricket players Krishna conscious.
Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. We see that, Maharaj.
It's happening too.
Yes, Maharaj. 100% Maharaj. Mercy of Srila Prabhupada. All the world is being attracted to Krishna. That's Prabhupada's mercy. And Maharaj, you are right. Very true, Maharaj. We see Matajis are way more inclined towards Krishna Bhakti. And even today, Maharaj, on the call, there are more Matajis than Prabhu. I was actually counting. So there is majority of Matajis than Prabhus. So Maharaj, you are right. And Maharaj, every time I listen to Bhagavatam, I am being convinced that we get everything from Bhagavatam, even in this material world, Maharaj. Maharaj, you narrated very beautiful story of Duryodhana. Our glories to you, Maharaj, about the Gandhari when she sees Duryodhana and his body gets of steel. And I'm connected to movies of these days, Maharaj, where, we see this steel man. Like all the ideas, Maharaj, is coming from our Shastras. So
Right.
that is so beautiful, Maharaj. Today, kids see bodies of steel and the superheroes flying here and there. And we have our Hanuman who went to save Mother Sita from one way to another way to Lanka, Maharaj, flying, right, Maharaj? And we see Steel Man and Iron Man. And this is all coming from Shastras, Maharaj. So beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Everything starts from the spiritual.
Everything, Maharaj, everything. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your services, Maharaj. Thanks for coming on the call, Maharaj. Dear devotees, Maharaj is there for blessings. So please go ahead if anybody has any questions, any comments for Maharaj. Please go ahead. I see, Maharaj, so many devotees on the call. I see on the video Indulekha Mataji. I see Scarlett Mataji. I see Shama Gauri Mataji. I see Shilpesh Prabhuji there. Hare Krishna, all devotees. Maharaj, there is Shiv Kumar Prabhuji who has his hand raised. Hare Krishna, Shiv Kumar Prabhuji. You can please go ahead, unmute yourself. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat
Shiv
Pranams.
Kumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams.
Which Kumara of Shiva are you?
Sorry, Maharaj.
Which Kumara of Shiva are you?
Sorry, Maharaj, I'm not getting your question.
Rajal's face.
Maharaj is very humorous, Maharaj, Shiv Kumar Prabhuji. So Maharaj is just laughing with you, which is a great fortune. When Maharaj laughs, that's good. That's what we like. So Maharaj was just laughing. Which Kumara are you from the Shiva? So Shiva Kumar.
Okay, sorry. I think it's Kartikeya Maharaj, if I'm not wrong.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Okay,
Yeah.
not Ganesh.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Maharaj, one question from today's class, Maharaj. My understanding is the Brahminical qualities like tolerance, humility, self-control are conducive for devotional life. But I understand some at times at home or at work, we also have to exhibit the Kshatriya qualities. But personally, Maharaj, I find it very difficult to kind of apply Kshatriya qualities. For somehow I have the tendency to think that they are orthogonal to devotional life, or it's just not coming from my nature. So kind of how can I improve to kind of apply Kshatriya qualities when the situation demands, Maharaj, instead of always looking at the situations internally to see how I can correct internally instead of setting things outside.
Well, working according to time, place, and circumstances requires the intelligence to understand how to apply the principles and whatever needs to be said. But there is an element that's called Satyam Priyam, Satyam Bruyam, how to speak the truth in a palatable way. So Kshatriya qualities don't mean that you have to use the passion that is inherent in the Kshatriya nature, but you can use the still communicate the qualities or the activities from your own perspective. In other words, when truth is spoken palatably, it becomes more easily to understand, more easily to be accepted. So yeah, sometimes we act impetuously, or there appears to be some immediate response to a situation. That happened to me this morning, immediate response without clearly thinking about how the results would come by that response. So these things can happen, and it can cause relationships to deteriorate or break down. So we have to be very mindful. Mindful means thoughtful. That if we see the situation, we act accordingly, but in a way that whatever we say or do is done in a gentlemanly way, a proper way, with respects to the persons involved. That's an art. I know one particular sannyasi in our movement. He can speak very strong, cutting words, but he speaks them so sweetly and very intelligently that unless you listen to it, you can't see that he's actually making a point to undercut something you're doing or acting. In other words, he's cutting away your material attachments, but he's doing it in a very sweet way. So that's an art. It takes some time to practice, and our natures, if you have the Kshatriya nature, then you have to control that by intelligence. If you're more Brahminically inclined, then your nature is in line with being more in a mood of humility and more in the mood of trying to serve. Kshatriyas, they're also in a mood of serving, but they're very impetuous about getting the job done. They have a tendency to, you might say, be very clear, straightforward, and very strong in their way of doing things. That's the Kshatriya nature. We all have a particular nature, so you have to understand your nature. I can see just by seeing you, you don't have a Kshatriya nature. Just by the way you speak, I can see that. So use your very simple, humble nature, but speak according to time, place, and circumstance, and speak in a pleasing way. When we want to get somebody to do something, it's not so much tell them not to do something, but to tell them what to do. Usually you tell a child not to do this because they have to hear what not to do. But when you're dealing with grown-ups, You tell them more, you give the understanding of what is right rather than telling them what is wrong. That's a tactic in communications that has more effect than putting people down just because they may be doing something wrong. You overshadow the wrong thing by explaining what is the right thing. So these are some things you can think about. But when you're faced with the situation, then you have to depend on Krishna.
Thank you so much for that. Hare Krishna. Very helpful. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shivakumar Prabhuji. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for your beautiful question, actually. Because sometimes we are afraid and shy of asking questions. Thank you for coming on the call and asking the beautiful question, actually. So please do join us every day. Thank you, Maharaj. Beautiful answer. Certainly, Maharaj, we can see it anywhere. Sweet words can win anybody's heart also. Sometimes some harder situations too. So words should be spoken very choosefully and carefully, Maharaj. Which certainly not the case of Shiv Kumar Prabhu. He is a very humble devotee, we can see. But which certainly comes when we are near devotees like me, myself, Maharaj, we don't understand the real meaning of life, and chanting really is helping, Maharaj, is taking us from our lower nature to a higher taste, Maharaj. So true, Maharaj, words should be chosen very carefully, because once they are spoken, they are spoken. And then sometime we regret all our life, oh, what I said in that situation. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you make that mode of passion comes right, and all of a sudden it grabs us, and then we're speaking in a very upset or angry way.
So true, Maharaj. So true.
Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. Dear devotees, if anybody has any more questions or comments, please go ahead. So you can be blessed and answered your question by Maharaj. Otherwise, if nobody has no questions, we can end the call. So Maharaj, I don't think anybody has any questions, because it was very simple purport by Srila Prabhupada, and then you elaborated very perfectly. So everybody understood, I think. Hopefully.
Oh.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Our Tiffany Mataji is there, Maharaj. Hare Krishna Mataji.
I just wanted to say thank you. It was such a beautiful class. It really was. I'm very grateful for your class today and for your association. And thank you so much for coming to us regularly. I truly appreciate it. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. So true. Maharaj has a very busy schedule, and still Maharaj gives us blessings with his classes. Hare Krishna, Sri Devi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Raj Prabhu. My humble obeisances to you, dear Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, right in the beginning almost of the class, you mentioned about how women are so much more inclined to spiritual activities, and now in Kali Yuga especially, come in large numbers. And even Srila Prabhupada writes this in one of the Srimad Bhagavatam purports. But at other times, we read in the scriptures how women are very lusty, they're very materially inclined, they are, materialistic in nature, envious, etc., etc. So how do we reconcile these?
That last statement applies to the materialistic women. It doesn't apply to devotees. When one becomes a devotee, and they develop devotional qualities. The best devotees are the gopis. Yeah.
Thank you, Guru.
So that statement has been clarified by Prabhupada. When he makes that distinction, he said that applies. And Prabhupada did say one time to the general body of devotees, he said, the women in our society are just as good as the men. because they've taken to devotional service. That is their extraordinary quality.
Hari bol. Very, very, very beautiful question, Mataji, and very, very beautiful answer, Maharaj. Certainly. And that comes, Maharaj, only after chanting and after reading Bhagavad Gita. You know, when we think on the top of our body, because this body is, what as Krishna says, Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya. This is just a cloth on our soul. So then men and women distinction is not there, Maharaj. Very beautiful answer, Maharaj. That comes very, very late, but it does come, Maharaj. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. So dear devotees, if nobody has any questions, any comments, we will end the class here. Maharaj, our very dear devotees, Indulekha Karuna Mataji is thanking you for the beautiful class, Maharaj. Actually, Indulekha Mataji is behind the scenes all the times. All the time, dear devotees, when you see any purports being shown up and the classes being start and the classes being end, it's all our Indulekha Mataji is behind the scenes. So all glories to your services, Indulekha Mataji. So dear devotees, let us pay our obeisances to Maharaj and all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalapataru Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ji ki jai. Candramauli Swami Maharaj ji ki
Jai. Hare
Gurudeva ki jai.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe
Radhe.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Gauranga.
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 Radhe Radhe.